template. Let's fucking go.
Hello, hello. I remember you. You're the guy with the experimental songs, right?
Yeah, and you're the guy who spoke about limitation and leaving space for space in the songs. I remember. I thought about it.
Oh, I have my role in the world. I'm sorry, man. Sometimes
Oh no, it's perfect. I need to hear that. I just have to.
I
I'm
have my
doing.
own I have my
Yeah,
own things that I deal with, you know.
yeah. That's
I guess
okay.
we
I'm here for critics, so positive or negative, they're all good.
yeah, I just want a place where we can talk sincerely about what we think about each other than just
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, their music is so nice, so nice," because then we
yeah,
don't learn from it, you know. But if
yeah.
there is something,
Actually, I have something to say today because your comments. I don't know if it's you, but somebody said that they felt a bit of stress while listening to my music. And the next
no,
day, I started to think about emotions, and I had some thinking that I'd like to share today. I'll take like 3, 4 minutes to talk, if it's possible.
I don't think I said that though. I didn't
No,
say
it
it.
could be
Yeah,
somebody else.
yeah, I do remember the specific track you played though. I don't think it was all your
Okay.
music, Claude. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you that opportunity, Claude,
Yeah, sure. When it's my
shortly.
time.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to introduce everyone who
Yeah, go
may
ahead.
be tuning in or even in the archive later on, because we did start streaming. So welcome to TEMP, Toronto Electronic Music Producers May online meetup. And so basically, the format that we have here is electronic music producers send in a track and we put it into a random selector, no pun intended, selector. And you spin the wheel
Selecta.
and we pick a name. And then when the name comes up, we'll play the content. Some people actually also send in video. At the end of the day, it has to be original electronic music related. We're genre agnostic in this meetup group. So from the beginning, when we were over 10 years, by the way, our meetup group has been going. So we used to meet in person prior to COVID. And so we've always been open to basically, as I said earlier, all types of genres because just doesn't make sense for this type of format to kind of, to even try to have a boundary around that, right? I mean, where would you draw the line anyhow? I'm lucky I don't have to think about that. So we just made it open. And even people do a lot of acoustic hybrids too. So we're pretty good that way. And but certainly there's a lot of people that do electronic dance music and but anyways, and a lot of our regulars are basically very prolific and also consistently high quality. So I think that lends a lot of the times to the quality of this meetup. It's you guys and what you bring to the table. So thank you for that. And
Thank
today
you
we
for the
have,
invitation, bro.
yeah, no, you're welcome and appreciate your time and, like I say, your participation. And that's another thing. We got a lot of good discussion. So um, you can learn a lot from your peers and from sharing and getting feedback. Especially when you're doing, in the case of the current era, where we're wearing a lot of different hats, whereas there used to be like maybe more people involved in music productions. A lot of times people are on their own, is what I'm getting at, and so you're sort of in your own world doing, various tasks too, right? Everything from composition to engineering There's so many different facets to this craft, and even the supporting things. Like we talked a lot of times about album covers. I remember I made the comment about Night Ride FM, how important album covers were to that synthwave community, for example, that Karen was talking about. Whereas from a DJ, the most important visual usually will be a flyer, to be honest with you. Like that's the most important thing when I deal with graphics, like album covers, whatever, but flyers, like and speaking of which, this is a great freaking segue because we have a party coming up June 14th, roughly 2 weeks from now. And it's going to be at 171 College Street, which is the Smith House. So we were there back in November of last year. So we're back again Saturday, June 14th. And we got two headliners, Ryan Ruckus and Unknown Soldier. Dextra, myself, and Bandit MC are the residents for Temper. And we're going to have also Serenamoni. I didn't pronounce that right. Shit. Serenamoni. Sorry. I think it's a tree. Keep wanting to say ceremony, but supposedly like there's like a type of fish that does something with this. I don't know exactly the whole story. But anyway, she's a all vinyl whatchamacallit, jungle drum and bass DJ. So it fits perfectly the bill. So this is an all vinyl party, I might add. And so that's something else that is unique. So I was talking before we started the stream earlier, so it's going to feel like maybe I'm repeating it, but for the sake of the stream,
So if
DJ,
I understand, you'll be dressed in vinyl, Lenny? It's a vinyl
well,
party? No?
if we might have some women dressed up in latex, that's the rumor, but it could be a mix of latex and vinyl, But me personally, no. I'll probably be wearing this T-shirt.
I really like the design of the flyer. It looks really good, man.
Yes. Well, you see, this is the teamwork. I really have to give props to Marco. So in addition to DJ Dextra and myself, we're the main organizers, and we have Marco doing the sound and lighting. So he's a techno guy. I mean, that doesn't do him justice, but he's a real professional. He works in sound and lighting in the industry for a long time, and in addition to producing, and he tends to do hard techno, like the kind of stuff Peter's into, and even harder, if you can imagine. And so he's the one that did the flyer. So he did a great job. So we've got a good team. And a matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to the other view here. But yeah, it's important. Speaking of flyers, right? So this is very good whatchamacallit, segue, because we were just talking about the importance. So, like there's video and lighting and all the different aspects that go into what we consider today to be music production. It's a daunting task. So I think it's useful to have groups like this where, we can share information. Vostel, I just tuned in earlier today, YouTube, made a tune while he was streaming, right? Like, how to make a hacker tune in the cyberpunk wastelands.
Yeah, well, yes, I try to put everything in there that inspires me, cyberpunk, but also retro, retro cyberpunk. So it's not modern, but retro. But it's all the things together. But I'm trying to come together with my ideas, and why not? Since we have all this technology and internet, why not stream it live for people? So they can see how it's done. Maybe there's a new person out there who hasn't done music, and they can learn how to layer a snare or something like that. It's really fun. And yesterday I had a session that was like 6 hours long for a 3-minute track. So, and I continued it today with another 3 hours and a half. And now I have a pretty good dark synth track, and that's what I'm going to show you guys today.
Yeah, we'll get to hear that track.
Have you got a recording of some of that? Is it, can you put a link in for that?
Oh, well, who wants to watch 6 hours of
Well,
just messing
the
around?
thing about that is you can move forward a little bit if you need to, right?
Yeah, throw the links in the chat. Go for it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's
You
up to
mean in
you. I mean,
you
why
mean in
not?
the Zoom, right?
Yeah, in the Zoom here, sure.
Yeah, in the chat.
And
Yeah, I can
you
put.
know, so this is the kind of community that you know, we're talking about, where we are sharing you know, a lot of the information about this process, the creative process. And so yeah, we're, you know, happy to be a small part of that here on TEMP. And Claude, I don't know, did you say you wanted to say something, or do you want to say later or now, or
Well, it's only like 3-4 minutes. It's just some thinking about me and why I make music and stuff like that. So I can do it while when my song plays,
Okay, yeah,
like
sure,
before my
sure.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So that sounds good. But yeah, we'll get to hear the song that Vosto made while he was on stream.
Excellent.
So that's like, it's really cool to be able to be able, and thank you. I mean this in all sincerity, for your generosity, Vosto, in sharing that kind of stuff. you
Yeah,
know?
thanks,
So,
Vasto.
you
I'm
know,
just gonna copy it over here now.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure, man. It's what I like to do. It's the coolest thing. And the fact
absolutely, yeah.
and the fact that without having a fortune of money, you know, without having that, you can just build a really good computer and build everything inside of the computer. It's great, you know. I mean, if I was bleeding money, I would fill a living room full of gear, but I don't have that, so that's why I had to learn really good sound design inside of the computer to be able to make it decent enough so that it sounds close to as it would be made by hardware, you know.
Yeah, and you got to have the right hardware to fight in the wastelands. So the cyberpunk wastelands is not for the faint of heart. So you got to
No,
make
you
sure
need
you're well prepared.
distortion.
That's
You need
right.
distortion pedals.
Well, and I've enjoyed that the night ride
Station?
station. Yeah. I put it in every couple of weeks or so and listen for an hour or two, and yeah, I've liked it. So.
It's the perfect background radio station, Night Ride FM.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's
I'm
a
glad
lot of
too.
people that do, and it's a well-programmed site, as well, as we've said many times, along with Rect, the IRC component, which I'm about to post a link in here, by the way. That's what I'm trying to do here. But yeah, so we'll get started in a second here. Bear with me. Just wanna. Speaking of gear, I've got like 1, 2, 3, I don't know, like 6 screens in every direction here.
I mean,
Wow.
I represent the wasteland. You can see that my headphones are with duct tape at the moment, and I'm just using them forever. Like I wore this duct tape last time too, you know. And then this microphone is like, it's not the cable from the microphone, it's something else. And then this microphone stand is not for this microphone. I just kind of put it together, so it's like scrapyard over here at my end, you know. So,
You got to
yeah,
keep the party going.
somehow, yeah.
I sent I put the Zoom freaking link. Oh man, that's a disaster.
And all I use, I do use a piece of equipment, like just this keyboard here with the drum machines, and I also have this DJ deck over here. And then there's one screen here and one screen here, and this is my equipment, guys. And then I have some retro speakers over that way. Oh, over that way. See those speakers?
Man,
I see something over there.
It looks like a cupboard, but no,
Yeah,
it's a speaker there, and
Oh.
there's another one over there. So like they're big, they look like pieces of furniture. And then I have like an 80s, that's an 80s like amplifier, you know, like station amplifier for the speakers. So I like it because it has a nice warm textures. They're made in this. The station was made in Germany, and the speakers were made in Poland. I have a friend who can still make spare parts for them too, if I need it, because the speakers will destroy themselves in time, so you have to maintain them. If they have an engineer, I'm not an engineer though. But you see, I don't have like super modern equipment. I don't have it. But somehow,
I
with the
certainly don't.
information that I have on the screen, I can make a good balance on the mix, I guess. Maybe not ideal, but it's good enough for me, But
No, it's a good point. The cost of technology, at least as it relates to computing power, I mean, has gone down to a level that's hard to really even wrap your head around, right? I mean, if you think about what technology was available for like the moon landing, for example, that was like the equivalent of, I don't know what, like a calculator or, something maybe a little bit more above that. We've got like, crazy, crazy amount of technology at our fingertips. So that is definitely something to at least recognize, and you know what I mean, like to utilize it in a good way, because there's enough bad uses for technology. Let's be honest, right? There's a lot of bad uses, but this is one of the good ones, if not, the best. So it's good to
visual.
see, yeah, and like what you're talking about, even some of the simulator VSTs, it's not as good as, let's say, the $20,000 profit or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I
hey,
got a Prophet emulator. I used a lot of it in this song I made, and it's really good, and then couple that with stuff that gives me information, like the visual equalizers and the meters, like the RMS meter, virtual meter. It's virtual, but it works. And then I also have the LUFS metering as well. So that's like I get my loudness information and my frequency information. So I'm good with that.
You're doing great. I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, enough talk. Let's spin the wheel and hear some music. If you guys are down with
Enough
that.
talk. Enough talk.
Hey.
Gotta face the music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a smaller crowd tonight, so who knows? We might call it early, or maybe we'll play a couple of tunes, but we'll do one each for now. Although, okay. Oh, Vasto, here we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect segue. So yes, did you want to start with that track then?
Yeah, sure. The one that I made today, I made yesterday with a different type of drum, and then today I completely removed the drum set I had yesterday and went for a more dense, dark synth approach. Yesterday I had a more like heavy metal approach, so I removed that today and I made something else. I still have the song I made yesterday, but I will mainly focus on this one, because people know me as the synthwave guy who makes things you can kind of in a dark way dance to. So that's what I have to represent. I can't be experimental and stuff. I mean, I can, but those are like bonus tracks. So what's this song? It has a beginning like it's from the 70s, you'll see, but then it's gonna kick into the dark side a bit, and then you'll see it becomes more modern as this track continues, and also some guitars from post-punk inspiration. And when you hear punk, you imagine that aggressive punk, but no, it's more of an ambient post-rock punk, So enjoy, guys.
All right. Let's give it a listen.
Talking too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Groovy.
Wow. The drums are amazing. Well, both the bass, the drums, everything's amazing, but wow. Yeah.
Groovy.
Yeah, and that's the tune that I caught the tail end of the stream that apparently was being made as he was streaming, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like a really good tune. So, but you explained it earlier. This was like day 2, so there's but yeah,
Wow.
this really well came together
Well,
really
I've
well.
got to definitely got to take a look at that link.
I have to look. That's day 1, and then there's day 2. So day 1 is episode 4, and the day 2 is episode 5. I know it's confusing, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So on the first day I made more like a metal kind of track, but in the second day I made it more dark dance, And I still kept some elements of the first one with the drums, you know, when it goes like double kick mode, you know, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like a thunder, you know, coming. Like it's good.
Yeah, I like that too.
Coming in and out with the elements. Yeah, I like
I
that
made
too.
this small comment earlier on the details of just even the hi-hats at one point. I just a nice compliment. I mean, obviously that's but it's still an important element, like because it was kind of the drums I noticed was pretty low on that side of things, and then you come in with it, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It
There it is.
it's well done, you know, and like, but yeah, the bass line itself really is excellent, but
Yeah.
how you fit everything together, the arrangement,
Mm.
you know, you mentioned earlier that you're using all retro synths, VSTs or
Synth
whatever.
emulators, retro synth emulators, and I mean, for the main synth, the one that is the lead synth, that's a modern synth, but you can make it in a retro synth as long as it's polyphonic, because, I mean, no, as long as it has a unison and you can put multiple voices to it, because, you know, I put like 8 voices on it,
Right.
and then there's, with one of the voices stands out, but the other ones are there also, but in the background. So it creates this blizzard of a synthesizer, you know. It's simple stuff. Maybe modulated a little bit, like this first oscillator modulated with the shape from the second oscillator, and then a noise as well, and then they all go into this cutoff with some drive and some resonance, and then some distortion on it, obviously, and some EQ to enhance the high frequencies a little bit, and then a little bit of delay too. In fact, a separate delay track for that synth. So it's like a communication. The delay syncopates around the beats, causing a nice illusion in the ears. And the bass itself has like 3 tracks. One of them is like just the basic 80s bass, but then a second version of it with an overdrive, but you can use any distortion pedal and then cue it, so it's like not the whole thing, but just like at somewhere 1500 and 2000 hertz, somewhere there, and then make a third track with some other fuzzy elements that do the same notes as the bass, and then maybe use the chorus on that, and that one can automate the cutoff on it, so it goes up and down to create this progression and really cool stereophonic illusion of the bass. So when it comes to the drum samples and stuff, like, okay, the main beat is like a punchy kick from a modern kick, but it also has a second kick. It's just a layer from retro kick, you know. So that's only the mids and highs from that to create a retro kick, but with modern punch. And then snares, like 2 snares, one layer differently, different sound. Obviously, gated reverb and then all the cymbals and the stuff. It's from a drum machine that was recorded from real drums, and it's like a real drum kit, but inside of the Contact library.
Is
So
that what's the name of that Drummation?
it has a weird name, bro. The one that I used is like, it has a weird metal name, you know, because it's evil, so they make strange names like Kirm or something, Kair MH or something, and has like a Cthulhu behind the drums, like a tentacle demon behind the drums, and yeah, but it's a good drum set, so that's what I
Yeah, I
used for
liked
the
it.
embellishments. So that's the definition.
There was a lot of power in that. That kind of almost tom
Oh, those are my 80s thumb samples.
Oh, those
That-
are.
Because that's cool, right? It's like it brings the action from the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's almost cartoonishly actiony, and that's
Mm.
I like to add that instead of like a regular tom from a normal drum machine, normal drum set. You know, it
Mhm.
just goes like boom, boom, boom. You know, I like to have those cartoonish ones. I go, you know, it's stupid, you know, but I like them. I like them a lot. So I will keep them. I will do that forever. And then the guitar is Shreddage 3, but set to an ambient guitar this time. You can use it for even rhythm guitar and stuff like that. But if you don't have a guitarist available, you gotta have an emulator of that too, I guess.
And do you just play it on the keyboard, or do you
You
draw
play it
it
on.
in?
I play it on the keyboard initially with really bad latency, and because I don't have a proper setup,
Oh,
and then I quantize it, but maybe not perfectly. I think sometimes I don't quantize it perfectly to keep the human element and I definitely keep the velocities that get recorded and then maybe I alter them. Like that's the thing. You perform it and then you alter it to your needs. You know, as creativity comes to you as you do it, and you get new ideas. You're like, it's cool what I made while performing, but then something cooler comes to mind. So you draw those notes that you hear in your head, you know, and that's that.
yep. Yeah, no, that's
And then make sure you have -005 on the master, because you don't want to digitally distort, and meter with RMS for that -8 sweet spot of energy perceived, and then perceived loudness with LUFS. Somewhere between -10, -8.
do
I
you
recommend.
master it post production, or do you just do it?
No, I do it
no?
in the project, on the master in the project.
In the actual project. Okay, in line.
Yeah, and
Alright.
everything is done from the first note. Like you're not gonna see me use any loop or pre-made sound, or I just make everything from scratch. Well, I use presets, but I also make when I need something specific that is like the lead sound in the song. Like I knew what I wanted, so I just made it from the initialized preset and just made it myself from scratch. And inside the Serum 2 is not that difficult. But sometimes I know where to go at the preset that does something that's in my imagination. If I don't know where to get it, then I design it myself. I like this making from scratch approach and not using pre-done sound
I like
design
it too.
or pre-done drums. I don't like to use that either because I want every little element in my loop to be thought by me. Because then when I listen to it, it's like, yeah, I put that there. I put that click in that specific place. You know, everything has to be done. Sorry, it feels like I'm preaching, but I have respect
No,
for
it's
all
fine.
kinds of workflow.
I always have this debate. Like, jungle is based on samples. It's like the drums. So it's like
Sure.
12-second sample made in 1967, I believe.
Oh, sampling is
The
great, but
Winstons,
you can also do
Amen
it
Brother
from.
or something. So
But
you know what I mean? Like
you can also chop it.
right.
You
But
can
and the
chop
thing
that.
is, we had this
That's fine.
conversation a few meetups before, where people now can play that break live. You know what I mean? People do it on drums, they reprogram it. So it's interesting how it started off as a sampling genre and now it's being emulated and performed live, so it's kind of like a mixture.
If I was to do the drum and bass stuff, I would take a loop of a good drum set from the 70s or whatever, and then chop the loop so that it's in a way that I made. Like that's how I would do with that,
Yeah.
Because if it's just the same, then where's my creativity? Just me placing it there. I would like to chop it up and move the snare differently and the kick differently and have them interact with each other in satisfying ways to me, my friend.
I'm sure you guys all know, but I threw the Wikipedia link there. The story behind 1969, actually. So it's an entire, and I showed like the Apache Break documentary. I think a little while ago we mentioned that. That was from like an obscure, I don't know, the Bongo Band, I believe. So I personally like samples, just to throw it out there.
Yeah,
But
man.
I understand the sentiment around
If I was to do drum
not
and
just
bass,
not using loops all the time. You know what I mean?
no, especially not for the kind of music that I make,
Yeah.
because this is like more minimal compared to drum and bass, I guess. And so the elements that I have, I want to put them in me.
Oh, a lot of people who make drum and bass do everything from scratch too these days. It's not totally unusual. But obviously the retro stuff we were talking about earlier, like the happy hardcore breaks, the early 90s rave stuff. But that's what I mean. It evolved. People took those kind of loop-based genres and now have reinterpreted them and are doing it live. And I see a mixture of the two. But yeah, no, it's and you can you can see everything you're talking about in your video stream there, the archive, and I can truly appreciate the talent and the craftsmanship that you bring to it. Like it's quite amazing to see the whole process.
Yeah, maybe in the beginning it could be boring, but that's the thing. Like it's patience. When you we go fishing, you have patience until you catch something. It's the same here. Like you play around, you wait for something to come, and maybe it's a bit boring, but then you'll catch something in a certain instrument, in a certain melody you're doing, in a certain arrangement that you're doing. Maybe you arrange it firstly in a boring way, but then you play more with it, you arrange it, and you eventually, after hours and hours, you got that Eureka moment and it all fits together and you're happy about it.
Yep. That's well, anyway, you certainly have that Eureka moment. I'm positive of that based
And
on
thanks for sharing your process. I do appreciate it because I sometimes think we don't get enough of that. So I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for sharing once again.
Scrapyard.
And joining from
Scrapyard advice. Scrapyard advice.
And I forgot to mention, and joining us from another time zone, on the other side of the pond, as we like to say.
Shout out to 2:46 a.m.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us all the way from Europe. It's
the magic of the night. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of my lifestyle. Not all the time, but
from
sometimes it is.
Transylvania, no less. So I don't like to blow his cover, but Fausto rubs shoulders with some serious people in Transylvania. People you don't want to mess with.
Romanian mafia. It can't be more dangerous than the Italian mafia, but okay.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, no, thank you again. And like I say, you never know. Depending on how things work out, we might go around again for a second tune, Fausto, but we'll just keep moving along now, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I want to listen to everyone else's stuff.
So, Claude, you're the next contestant on TEMP May 2025. And yeah, go ahead if you wanted to talk about your tune.
Yeah, just a little thing. Well, a little bit about myself first, because when somebody talked about stress, it made me realize the next day that I'm making music with stress and anxiety because it's a big part of my personality. So whatever, I think I'm due for doing that. So I'll make some joyful songs as well. But I think my my default style will probably be stressful and anxious. So I realized that I wait. Okay, I realized that I express myself on how I feel, and when people listen to my song, if they feel anxiety or anxious, they actually feel what I feel when I have a daily challenge with anxiety. So I can make people feel the way I feel. It's obvious, but I didn't think about it so much, and I find that amazing. It can be the same with joy or any type of emotions. But the fact that I can talk to you about my anxiety, but it can make you feel anxious, you'll understand better what I'm talking about. So making music is all about communication. It wasn't obvious to me, but it is obvious to me now. And the reason I'm making music, I think, is to express my emotions. I wasn't aware of that very much as well. Why I share my music? I thought it was for fun, but now I understand that I'm trying to connect with people through emotions. It's as simple as that.
Well, that's
And
cool.
I am, well, yeah, go ahead.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
I like to think about myself and why I do things and why I don't do things, and so and now I understand better that the song is really a communication message using sounds, emotions, and words. And what I'm really trying to do uh, with music is I'm trying to communicate with others, and it's a bit of a surprise to me. So when people make a like on my song on YouTube, yeah, I thought, yeah, it's fun, but really I'm trying to connect with these people because I want to connect with people that like the same emotions that I like. So I find that very interesting. And my last point is now I can maybe Vosto will be pleased because I finally understand Vital after 2 years. I've been using presets a lot, but I've finally been able to use the Vital to make my own sounds. I don't know how they sound on other systems that mine.
Vital is perfect for that.
Yeah. So you can tell me, by the way, when my song plays, if there's anything wrong with the sound. But that's Vital that I used, and it's the first time that I make a song using my own sounds, really. So I
That's
think
cool, man.
that's
And
gonna
even
be
if the sounds are basic, you made them.
sorry?
I'm saying even if the sounds
Yeah,
are
it's
basic,
basic. Yeah.
it's gonna make you feel really happy, you know?
Oh yes. Like I don't think I have qualities such as I hear like stuff like depth and width about songs. I don't know what it is. I don't think I have it yet, but I have to start somewhere, and that's where it is. So now instead of going through a ton of presets, I can think about a song I want, a sound I want, and try to make it. So it's a lot of fun coming for me. So that was it.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah. So you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I would just
Okay.
like to tag on to that. Of all the mediums of art, music is the most emotionally charged and
Absolutely.
able to
Also,
connect your emotion. It can completely bypass your intellect. Like you
Yeah.
could just have it go straight. So it's a very, very powerful. And the evidence that I will use to support this statement is movies. Watch any movie and then turn the sound off, especially when you're talking about like those high emotion intensity.
Yeah.
Without the sound, I mean, yes, the images are dynamic and are able to capture a lot, but the sound is what's really delivering that emotional impact. So just
yeah.
highlight that point that you
But
made.
you talked about a YouTube channel. Maybe post that in the chat as well, Claude.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, really?
You
I can
said
do
you
that.
have a YouTube channel for your compositions.
Yeah, if you want to look in YouTube, it's under Dismantling Silence.
Post the link in the message
Yeah.
of the Zoom.
Yeah, I'll do that.
But yeah, I'll go. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and play your track, Claude. And
Yeah, and tell me if
we'll-
there's any sound that's weird.
all right, we will do so.
Bro, I like the sound textures on that. That was cool.
Thank you.
It's nice to listen that on headphones.
Yeah, there was no anxiety in this one.
Well, I don't know
Uh,
about that. It had a little bit of anxiety,
I'd say
bro.
it's got
Okay,
anxiety,
sorry.
yeah,
This one,
especially
oh,
towards the
yeah.
end, yeah.
oh,
That main sound, as a matter of fact, which, by the way, speaking of no presets, I'm gonna throw this in the chat
Oh.
here. But the Arturia Microbrute, that sound very much reminds me of the kind of sound you would hear, which is like a little analog, whatchamacallit, synthesizer, and it has no presets, by the way. So that particular synthesizer that I put the link to,
okay.
everything that you can do on that synthesizer is on the face of it, no submenus. And you literally have like these paper templates where you can, like, with a marker, put down where all your knobs are so you can remember it. Like, that's your preset. You actually have to put it manually.
Wow.
But anyway, it has that sound. Sorry for taking so much time to say that, but it reminded me very much of that main sound that you had there. But good work. You made those sounds in Vital, did you say, Claude?
Yeah, most of them.
They have a good depth to them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So when about the beat, the beat doesn't sound strange to me. Like at the beginning, it's boom, 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 and then it seems to kind of interlap. I'm not sure. Something weird's happening, and I'm not sure I like it.
Yeah.
But maybe you did
No,
notice.
no. I noticed the beat is not like straight as a regular 4/4.
Yeah.
Like chitum, chitum, chitum.
Yeah, I'm not there. Yeah,
It's a cool thing.
Yeah, I liked it.
that is
Sometimes
cool. Okay, that's good.
I'll tell you. So a story from the Terminator movie. You know, the guy who made tudum tum tudum tum tudum tum tudum tum, like that stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually a broken time signature from his drum machine that was a bit broken, so it wouldn't
Oh.
deliver. A perfectly equal beat.
Okay.
But it turned out to be cool, so he kept that.
Okay.
And a long time people were wondering what time signature was used in the main theme for Terminator. You know,
Ah.
it generated quite a debate until he said himself what happened actually.
He had a special feature. Haha.
Yeah, the bug became a feature, and it became an iconic piece of music that everyone likes. So, you know,
Okay.
why not?
Yeah.
I'm worried because I don't know much about these 3/4 and 1/8 yet. I don't know how to put the notes so that they sound properly, I guess. So I'll have to learn that.
Well, I thought there was a good bounce in the rhythm, and then it floated. It would just sort of move a little bit, and I found it quite intriguing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just cool synth, cool
Yeah,
synths.
thank you very much.
Like mystery, you know. Like you're not doing the obvious things that people expect. So
No.
so that's cool, you know. You're going all the way experimental mode.
Yeah, what I like usually more than I now I know that it's. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Be on. Yeah, I was on pause. Um. Yeah, I forgot what I had to say. So sorry.
Talking about experimental, not Vost was saying it's not what you're not, you can't, it's unpredictable. It's not something you expect to hear.
No, because you don't know like what notes is gonna land next. When kind of like in my tracks, you can predict what's gonna be next, but his stuff you can't predict what's coming next.
No, that's a part of what I like. I think that's gonna be part of my style.
Okay, doke.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you
Also,
very much.
you haven't posted your YouTube channel in the.
No, because I'm unsure on how to do it, so I'll do it when I have a minute of a clear mind. But I'll
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you once again, Claude. It's very well done. What tempo actually? BPM was around 110? Did you say 120? You know?
I think it was about 120.
120? Okay.
Good.
Yeah, just curious. Cool, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, 120 is the standard beats per minute
Yeah.
in Ableton Live, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, almost everything.
Yeah, Logic too. Yeah.
There you go, 120 on everything.
I mean, I had a drum machine that was the default BPM. A lot of stuff. A lot of pop music is at 120 BPM. But anyway,
Yeah.
Jeff,
Okay. Yeah. So hopefully audience isn't giving you any challenges this week, Lenny, but
well,
So-
I'm actually logged in too, anyways. just in
okay.
case.
Well,
So
that's
we
good.
should be good. Yeah.
So this is a lot different than what I haven't brought anything like this before. So I was just sort of jamming away on my guitar a little bit, and then I ended up bringing it in and chopping it up a bit into and adding some electronics, a synth, and then a bit of a drum track, and then I added in a bass after that, and and some flange on the guitar at the beginning and the end. So it has even though it's got a lot of guitar, it's got a lot of electronic kind of effects. So I hadn't brought anything like this forward before, so I thought I'd bring something a little different around this time. See what you thought.
Alrighty. Yeah.
And I could use some
sounds
feedback on it yeah, because it's not something I've done a lot of. So,
okay.
all right.
Let's give it a listen.
Groovy, man.
Oh, well,
Oh,
thank you.
it was groovy. I like the bass, you know. That's like it reminds me a little bit of Billie Jean on the bass.
You know what? I got that too at some point because it was this 1-3. But I really I put the bass in last, right?
But
And I
yeah,
really enjoy sometimes playing with the bass. So thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
and then the guitar is grungy, you know. The guitar is grungy. I like that. I like the tone, and then the fact that you play between the volumes, like sometimes you go like do, and then you go down, 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 down. You know, it's a cool communication there between the instruments, and then the fact that you use percussion elements like the ride to accentuate the rhythm with with the going at the same time with the guitar, and you know the way you make your rhythms with the instruments and the notes is very natural to it's natural, you know. It's not like someone who just starts music, you know, just does everything on the first part of everything, you know. So it's ends up being like blocks that are predictable, but instead your groove moves around and you have nice syncopation. It's natural, even though like it's cool. And then the synth, I like the synth too. It filled the frequency range where it was needed to have something there. It was very nice and cosmic synth, you know, that it didn't overpower the rest of the song. It's pretty good. All it's balanced. I like it.
Oh, I really appreciate your feedback, Boston. It's kind of fun. I still not comfortable. Like I want more from my guitar. Some of it's the lack of my ability, but some of it is also just to be able to get um, more texture from the guitar, and and that's the mixing, which I just got to keep playing and learning, right? So.
You are playing a real guitar or
Oh
just
yeah,
the bass?
yeah. I got a guitar, yeah, and so I play on that, yeah.
Sounded good. It didn't sound off timing or anything.
Yeah, that one was I didn't really play around with it too much. I just like I sort of like jam for a period of time, and then I just cut out the pieces that I like and bring them together, and then like the synth just was fell into place very organically. I was pleased about that, and then the bass was but funny, oftentimes when I've done guitar stuff, I add my bass at the end, and I really have a lot of fun with it sometimes because,
You
yeah,
found good counter melody with it.
yeah, it's fun. It's just, yeah,
But yeah, the
Yeah,
synth,
man.
I made that comment. It was really nice. I mean, that synth part would work on its own, is what I really was trying to say. Like it's already a
okay.
nice sound, and like then you had it nicely, perfectly matched with that guitar, and it was like the mixture of the kind of more, I'm almost not gonna say flat, but like a little bit rough around the edges, the guitar, and then you have this nice smooth synth, and it was a nice mixture. Like I think texture was the
Uh,
something that you
and
mentioned
and
earlier
the
too.
quality percussions that you can clearly hear, they're not muddied out, you know.
Ironically, because I think it was called "In the Mud" or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. It's this time of the year,
It
right?
did.
Yeah.
It sounded clear though, like
Oh, that's good.
even
That's
though.
good.
But I mean, you could hear a little bit of
Uh,
that. But like it was like a kind of a nice mud, the kind of mud that you could still. Just kidding. I was.
But with the bass, it's like I needed to assign um, basses to different tracks and totally mix them depending on what was happening with the guitar to try to get rid of uh, that kind of mud to get rid of the competitiveness between the frequencies. So
Right, right. And
at
I
the
think you did a good job with that,
oh,
actually.
thank
That's
you.
I think that's
How long
another
have you
aspect.
been playing guitar, if I don't
Oh,
mind my
I
asking?
played guitar for a long time, but I just like hack away at it. I tend to think that I I either play like finger picking kind of stuff,
Oh, I like
I
that.
like or I like almost like bass kind of like even my
Mhm.
like guitaring, it's almost like the second guitar that goes along with the bass,
Oh,
right?
you
As a
would be perfect on a post-punk, but you know that what I was saying earlier with the ambient post-punk
yeah.
stuff, that you
Yeah.
would be perfect for that, or like the Cure, you know, that
Oh, I
guitarist
love The Cure. Oh
with,
man.
Uh,
with lots of delay on the guitar and like reverb.
or
You
I
could
just
be
want to
that guy.
mention Lindsey Buckingham, I believe his name, the guitarist for Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah.
He uses his fingers. I always remembered that.
And
One
Jeff
of
Beck. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, you know,
I'm not saying your song sounds like The Cure, but
No,
your technique is sim. You could be in that scenario because
well,
of your
I
ambient.
really I enjoyed The Cure. I got to see them live, and I listened to them
Maybe
quite a bit at one
maybe
time.
I'll ask you sometimes to bit, give me some ambient guitars. Like if I would send you some notes and you could make them on the guitar rather than have
Oh, be a
on
pleasure.
a
Be a pleasure.
DST, and then I can mix that in my track as like for the intros and stuff. Because you saw it in my track, I had some ambient guitar going on, you know,
Yes,
but
yes.
it was virtual, you know. So if I had someone more real who could perform it on a guitar, that would be cool, you know.
Well, I have Logic, and Logic has tons of guitar pedals and amps on
Yeah,
that are available.
that's good. That's good, but you
Mhm.
know, just like the human touch of the
Oh, pleasure.
and the human touch and the human picking, like I really like that.
yeah, we this reminds me. Speaking of guitar, we had a member and did a few live performances. I actually jammed with him too. This guy named Warren, and he had Roland synthesizer pickup that he connected to his guitar basically, so he could have basically dialed up on this. It's kind of looked like a kind of like a giant guitar pedal. You could choose like what synth you wanted, and as you play guitar, it would also send MIDI information to the complementary instrument or whatever. So I don't know if you ever played around with that, but it's an interesting concept. So you're doing like electronic music from a guitar basically, and there's like pedals, so you could press your different. I could put a link to it actually.
Okay, good.
Boss. I don't know what it's called exactly. Guitar pickup. There's actually software-based versions too. So there's so what I'm talking about is actually hardware. I believe you can actually just plug your guitar and into a normal interface, and there's software that will do similar stuff, by the way. But
And
anyway, I'll find it.
I've also seen down in Kensington they have the hardware night down in Kensington where everybody
Instant
brings
Avenue in Philadelphia.
no, here in Toronto, not so grand, but a lot of the people are plugging in through guitar effect boards with their synthesizer.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and
Uh,
looping pedals are very popular
yeah,
with vocalists. I don't know if you've seen that, where people will talk
no,
into a microphone on a guitar pedal that loops.
okay.
Solid one, I think. Anyway, he basically does that a lot, but a lot of people, I've noticed it a few times. I don't know if it's a thing everywhere, but I happen to have noticed a few vocalists that would use looping pedals
Interesting.
and then create layers. You know what I mean? So they
Hmm.
would have loops going, and yeah, there's all kinds of. But guitar pedals are really cool because at the end of the day, you know, there a lot of experimentation takes place. I think with the guitar pedals, right? The effects and all that. A lot of the alternative music I used to listen to was like, like Mudhoney, all those bands. It was all about like crazy distortion and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's even a drum machine threw like a guitar pedal. Sounds crazy, man. Like it sounds good.
That'd be really yeah, that would be something to
The
try.
drum sound all like weird and distorted.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yep, it's fun stuff. I'm okay. Well, yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Jeff. Very very cool.
Yeah, before we move on, I would like to also say that I was kind of thinking about like a mafia scene, but in like space because it has the synthesizer. The mafia scene, like they're playing cards or something, and but it's in space.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
Tony
gonna
Soprano and like
put my email in here. So if you want,
Yeah,
connect
some
with me.
ambient guitar sounds. Like
Yeah.
can I do like is it okay if I just give you a BPM and then I can be like with my mouth say like da 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 dum da da dum 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 da da dum, and then you could play off of that.
I could try anything. Sure.
Okay.
And it's funny because I tried doing that, what you were just doing, and then going and had the computer translate it to MIDI for me.
yeah.
And
I did
I
that.
actually wrote a song, a good part of a song based like that. It was, I was so surprised.
Yeah, it's cool. I've done that last year bike riding. I composed a few tracks. Like I was like humming it on my phone,
Hmm.
and then later on I made a few tracks.
Oh, the drum and bass. So you must have been doing stuff like
It ended up sounding very like metal melody actually, like like classical music actually. But anyway, it's cool though. I do that a lot. I like to put waves into MIDI converters because you're talking about earlier, you get weird timing. You get very interesting timing, I find, doing those kinds of experiments.
when I
Like
have
rather than
something-
programming it, like it's off, and then sometimes some of the background noises get translated into MIDI, so it creates like these weird, like like other notes.
artifacts.
Yeah. So
Well, depends. I mean, if you maybe have good noise reduction hooked to your microphone, maybe then you can do it, And if you don't,
right.
if you are able to sing on correct pitch, then maybe it's gonna be able to do it. I'm not saying you don't have correct pitch, but
No, I don't have correct pitch. I can guarantee you that. I can't even. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
I don't do that though. I imagine something, then I sing it into my phone so I can remember for later when I'm at the computer when I make music, and then I have to perform it because it's part of my philosophy. I perform it very poorly, and then I straighten it up.
Right.
I like that approach. Like that approach. I've been thinking of using that kind of thing more. Like I was thinking of doing like a bass and drum, and then just doing some sort of vocal sort of stuff on top of it, and then turning it into instruments. Right?
Yeah. Sky's the limit, really.
And I get those ideas when I go to sleep and I can't sleep. I keep thinking about music. So I immediately pull out my phone and sing into it.
That's a great thing to be thinking about anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. So yeah, the track I'm about to share, I was telling Vosto before we started, I had like 3, 4, 5 different tracks that I was debating on what I was gonna present. And then I ended up making this track literally at like 4:30 p.m. today. So keep this in mind. It's not a polished tune, but the main components of it I had made earlier. But like this arrangement, I kind of I was inspired. I saw Vostel make a track while he's streaming, and I'm like, man, I can't just come with some stale stuff that's like been sitting on the back burner. I'm gonna try to make something in the moment, So anyway, here it is. It's somewhat minimal, so and it's a work in progress, basically.
Well, very good, bro. You have this quality of making something that you can listen to for like if you're I'm just imagining, how this bass would sound really cool in a big speaker environment,
Yeah, well, that's the idea. So, and I felt like I was working with like a little, and I tried to get as much out of it as possible. Let me put it to you that way. So it's like minimal, but
Yeah, but you'll do it nicely, and
I
then you
had the
have
same.
doom,
Go ahead.
you have a clear bass. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you can go ahead. I just wanted to say I had the same thought as you. I think it kind of stops space and time, and you can listen to it forever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loop, like that's why audio's quality, because he's a DJ and he knows how to make something that can just listen to for a long time and you'll be cool with it. Whereas for me, if you would listen to one of my loops, like it will get boring, unless I do something else. you know. But the Spy Audio knows how to make the catchy loop, and
Mhm.
then he plays around with those samples. Like there's an art to this collage sampling stuff for sure. You know.
yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean,
found
well, sorry, go ahead.
I found it pretty cool because even though it was drum and bass, and you normally think drum and bass is high tempo, it was a very chill track.
Hmm.
It was very laid back. You know what I mean? It was not something that was making me want to go hyper or anything like that. It was making me
Oh,
like during those down periods. It's like something you throw in to bring the crowd down, so that you can bring them back up
there's
again.
Yeah, yeah, and actually,
there's a
this is
chill
yeah, it's a
side of
halftime.
drum and bass.
Yeah, and actually, I've been exploring different subgenres of drum and bass. Even in my production, right? And so this is yet another. That's kind of what the aim was. The next party, for example, that we're doing in 2 weeks is jungle. This is the kind of thing that can fit in on a jungle set, even though it's not jungle, but it has that, as you mentioned, Andrew. It's like the slower pace. So if you want to, and really,
You hear the pianos, you
especially,
think about the clear sky.
yeah, like there's a kind of, A sides. He's a producer that I like a lot. Um, That's just another one that was Saxon I was listening to very recently, where it's very like gritty. There's kind of like a hip hop actual. You can really hear the hip hop influence on this style of drum and bass. You know what I mean? So
You could
kind of
even
share.
sample some hip hop if you
Yeah.
want.
And I mean, the point is you're going to be mixing with this kind of thing, right? So it'll be yet a different twist on the main loop, as you're saying, right, Vostel? So like, I mean, you're
You
double
have
dropping
space to
it.
layer.
Right, right. I really, what I want to do though, after hearing it, is maybe add little finishing touches perhaps on the percussion, some cymbals. I feel like it's missing some of that perhaps, but
Well,
like you say,
I really like the bright keys that were there, and they just a few notes, and they just sort of stand there, and then you've
It's
got
the
that
chords.
great bass, and you've got the and the drums going, but the brightness has like sort of like a real different ambient quality, like Andrew was saying, but it just sort of stands there in space, and then the other all comes around. I just find that it's a really good juxtaposition in the music. Um, and then towards the end, and I didn't know if you were going, and it got really soft, and then and I thought that was really something that was worth working with more. Is that going from being really loud to really soft, and it brought me right into the music for a couple of seconds, and then okay, and then because a lot of times, uh, music doesn't have that contrast of loud and soft so dramatically like that. I like that.
yeah, I don't know if you also are referring to, there's a few times where there's like little pauses and you hear like a little
Hmm.
echo and it's quiet. Yeah, I like stuff like that. That's kind of a DJ trick when, you're looking for some variation, you've heard it and it stops and you have like a little trickle. it's pleasing to your ear. It's amazing how something as little as that can actually, be a nice little, in the right moment, right? And
It
I think
engaged
it
me.
worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
The
there was
use of
something else I was gonna.
silence.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Drum and bass, especially as a genre, they call it rollers. And it's like a roller coaster, right? Like you have like the kind of, okay, here we go, we're going up, and you're expecting the drop, right? And then it comes and you're just like boom, and you're like, oh my God. So it really is a genre that lends itself to highs and lows. And the quiet is what makes the loud that much louder. You know what I mean? And the opposite, right? So, if you just went full tilt, full blast, and went just straight line, it wouldn't be as pleasing. But it's that tension, right? That where you build it up and break it down. And obviously, a lot of electronic dance music, it's almost formula how often, you have like the rise and then the drop. But
Yeah, it's,
but there's older genres before that was sort of invented. Like if you hear like really early electronic music, it didn't all have the drop, right? Like especially techno too will be sometimes just like straight across or whatever, right? But
mhm,
dubstep, drum and bass, I would even say dancehall, which
mhm.
is very much what inspires um, drum and bass. But weirdly enough, hip hop doesn't do that. Hip hop is, at least old hip hop would just be like kind of across the
It
board,
hangs out
right?
on the beat
Yeah,
for the whole way.
so. But anyway, thank you guys for listening, and
No,
This is
thank
cool,
you.
man. I like to listen to chords also that
Hmm.
are cool. Because I can't
yeah,
really make cool chords. Uh, so the thing is, if you manage to find a cool chord or find a sample with some cool chords, it's so satisfying that you
right.
can just have them, and it's nice to listen to. And so you don't need to bring a lot of variation because the chords are just so good and satisfying to just listen to over and over.
Yeah, I remember when I would first heard jungle, to be honest with you, way back in the 90s, in the prehistory, the times, the old times. I really had a hard time wrapping my head around it, to be honest with you. I couldn't understand what was going on exactly. I was like, what the hell is this? And then someone later made the comment that, drum and bass is very simple musically, but very complicated in terms of the production. I'm like, simple. I'm like, it doesn't sounds like the furthest thing from simple to me. But then I realized what he meant. Like the actual melodies or the chords are like repeated and pretty straightforward, right? Sometimes it's just a few notes, but it's how they're being used. But having said that, I've always had a thing for melody personally. You know what I mean? So I probably do more melody than most people in drum and bass, I would say. Not to say there isn't melodic drum and bass, but it's not really the most popular subgenre of drum and bass. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the stuff, the drum and bass that you like to mix is usually the more aggressive stuff, which is like neurofunk and stuff like that,
Right.
and or old school like technical edge stuff, and they don't use much melody, So
No.
they're kind of like doing a note and then going semitone and then back in the note, and therefore creating a lot of uh, horror atmosphere or something with like really nice bass sound design.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? Like the sound design that Noisia and Current Value and all these
Yeah.
countless producers.
Well,
But at the same
maybe they're not
time,
that countless.
but the irony is that I really do like melody. You know what I mean? So it's funny that
Me too. Me too.
the music I play usually doesn't have a lot of melody, but I
I like to
personally really like.
listen to stuff, a lot of stuff. But when I'm DJ, I like to mix aggressive stuff with less melody. But when I compose a lot of melody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I straight up made an alternative tune. I didn't play it tonight, but it could
Mhm.
have been something, it has like 7 different sections. Like usually that's another thing. Drum and bass usually has a theme within a tune, doesn't jump around so much. but I had a tendency to really just kind of just go off on a tangent here, there, and
Yeah.
but anyway, speaking of tangents, I'm gonna stop talking here, and I think we only have one or two more.
Andrew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Andrew.
Andrew is.
Yeah,
All
I think that's
right.
me.
Yeah.
I'm up. Yeah, so this this track is a little short one. It's under 3 minutes. Something that it's not recent, but it's not old. But I found it and I decided to post it up to SoundCloud because I thought it was something that was a little bit more uplifting. And yeah, let me know what emotions you guys feel comes off this track. So give it a listen and let me know.
All right.
It's called Zima. It's this. I don't know if it's going to take you directly to a track, Lenny, but it's the first one.
Very well done, Andrew.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it sounded like it sounded like the guy who's missing song. The man with the with the Tycoon Deluxe songs. What's his name? With the bald head.
Brian?
The guy with the bald head that does happy songs.
The
Oh.
guy with the bald head who does happy songs. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Come on.
Drawing a blank here.
Yeah, this sounds probably like some weird feedback right now. But I would tell you who it was if he was here. You know, he was the one
Oh,
saying
you're talking about one of our group.
Richard.
Oh,
Richard.
Richard. Okay.
Yeah, remember when he was
Richard. Okay.
remember when like all his songs are like upbeat and happy,
Oh yes, very clean.
and he's like, I'm not making wasteland music, I'm making happy music.
Right.
And
right. That's right.
and so this is what this song reminded me of.
Well, I
You know,
got a bit of a a William Orbit like water from vine leaves or something like at certain times, right? So I was like,
It's a
what?
perfect construction simulator music.
Could
Is
be.
this a
Yeah.
good feedback?
Yeah.
Here's
Hey,
your
I
happy
follow-
pills. Here's your happy pills, and then they put this
Yeah.
on. It's
I
Hey, kids.
follow you on
no, it's really I like it. It's
SoundCloud.
I think you really you should I think you have, but this is kind of your sound, and you should you should embrace it, man. I mean, don't feel bad about being happy, Andrew.
No,
Or
I
about
don't.
making happy music. No, I know you don't.
Yeah,
but,
no.
but I'm just saying it's nice, man, actually, to have powerful, good electronic
Good
music that's
feel-
upbeat. Like,
There's
Yeah,
a
man,
good
lot
feel
going on
music.
there.
what a concept,
Good
Great.
feel, you can imagine Andrew going on walking
Yeah.
on the for the
But a
sea
bike ride
water?
in the mountains, yeah, in the sun.
or for the
All right.
mountains. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah,
could
man.
almost call that synthwave, right, Vostel? You're kind of an
No,
authority, not really.
because I mean, you need my retro drums for synthwave,
It's missing the retro drums. Then.
and the cheesiness. Like, I have to have some cheesy 80s elements, like how in my track sometimes you hear tu, so that brings people to the 80s, basically. But no, it's more like on the lines of what Affix Twin was doing in the late 90s, maybe.
I heard William Orbit. I must say I was hearing some things that moved in there.
I like Andrew's music, man. I follow him on SoundCloud.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
You should drop your SoundCloud for people to follow it again.
Yeah, and you're very prolific too, Andrew. I mean, you really have a lot of tunes. I think you have more than one SoundCloud, actually. This is a man with 2 SoundClouds, I think.
Oh, a
Or
man.
are you down? Are you up to 3 now?
I'm up to
The
3.
man.
3.
The man with 3
Yeah.
SoundClouds.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to pay
Big
for
rain.
it. Well, yeah,
3
I don't want to pay for
different
it.
visions.
Yeah, I have the free SoundCloud too. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but I feel like
I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that if I pay for the SoundCloud account that it's gonna be monetarily successsul for me in return. They say
No,
that
it's not.
they say this and they say that.
Oh yeah, I
But-
forgot it has a limit. But yeah, I pay for the pro plan, and I haven't even uploaded anything this year.
No,
because I
Yeah,
knew people that would upload DJ mixes, and I'm like, how the heck do you get a DJ mix on SoundCloud? Like, they have the pro plan. I'm like,
Yeah,
Pro plan.
yeah.
okay, there you go. So that's the one thing that I would probably use more if I had the pro plan. I could upload DJ mixes, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's a good platform though. Like, I know
Yeah,
I
but
used to know some people think that it's not as good as it used to be, but I know people that were really into SoundCloud. You know what I mean? They preferred it over Spotify, for example. But
Mm.
me personally,
I have my stuff everywhere.
yeah, me too.
But SoundCloud not so much because I don't know, man. There's a lot of bots. Every time I go on there, I get messaged by bots.
Right.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
I moved over to Audius and I started with putting things on SoundCloud, and then the last maybe 6 to 8 months, when Phil went over to Audius, I went over at the same time, roughly.
Man, there were times when I would get tens of thousands of plays on SoundCloud. on the album I posted last year, I barely got like a few hundred plays or something. Terrible.
Yeah, I feel like on that note, I'll say social media. I've noticed the algorithms have really gone in a different direction.
It's over now. AI
During
is making
COVID,
music.
I'll give you an example. During COVID, we were doing a lot of streaming, and you could post something on Instagram and use hashtags, and it would get to people. You know what I mean? Same with Facebook. Now, if you don't interact with someone on those platforms, those people won't see it. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, if you yourself are not active on those platforms, good luck getting anyone to see your posts, man. It's funny because I have content that I've created that other people have shared, and it's like it just goes crazy, right? And TikTok is the other exception. TikTok is the only platform that has an old school algorithm where you can actually get a lot of views. You know what I mean? So if I put content on TikTok, you know, and even actually I used to get maybe a lot more and I got even less now. But anyway, just something I noticed. So maybe it's Elon Musk and Zuckerberg are like, you know, they're hoarding all the marbles. And I don't know. I've even started to use Blue Sky, to be honest with you, on the social media side of things. But anyway, I hate social
There you
media.
go.
I'll just mention this. Actually,
Yeah.
saying all this, the only reason
all you
I
need is
use
luck.
social media is to
No, you
advertise.
don't need
That's
to
it.
use social
No,
media.
period.
When I had
Dude.
some success with my music, it wasn't because I posted a lot on the internet. It was because I got lucky to get on playlists on my genre, you know, and that didn't require any effort, just being lucky.
Yeah, we're actually. I gotta see if I can get this in focus. Oh shit! I'm holding a flyer up here. But yeah, like we're literally going. Yeah, here we go. We're going to the old school way of advertising and actually stapling and handing out flyers because word of mouth actually seems to be working better than social media. Having said that, whatchamacallit, Meetup, you know, here we all are thanks to that social media. So, you know, I'm not, I think for different audiences, they have their own kind of, you know, niche, you know, but there's a lot of bots, like you say, there's a lot of algorithms. I think that how TV used to be like this, you know, centralized communication, I didn't think the internet would come to a point where it would be worse than TV. But like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like the concentration of the messaging today is even worse than it was in TV, which is hard to believe when you only had like three major networks in the States, for example, that controlled everything. How is it possible today with this open and free internet that it's the same powers that,
Isn't it
you know?
bizarre? Like if you're like using Google or Bing or any, and you do a search, you'll always come up with the same people, the same organizations, all
Yeah,
come up over and
yeah,
over, and they almost exclusively. And you think there's just no way that this is the extent of stories or people out there, but it is totally sewn up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally think that too, Lenny.
Yeah, and the memory holding that's occurring, you know, like things just sort of disappear. So good for everyone out there that has physical copies of stuff because, you know, you used to think you put it on the internet and it's there forever. Well, not really. It's, you know, like things just kind of,
So long as
like I
the
say,
corporation exists.
yeah. So, and personally, I had some thoughts around the system of capitalism, which people rightly criticize. Many people I know point out a lot of the failings of that particular system. But I will say that I don't think it's the system that is the issue. It's the people behind the system. Because those people, you give them any system, and it will be bad.
Yeah.
Capitalism, communism, doesn't matter. And in fact, I think it is the same people, actually. That's the irony. So
The challenge is who wants to run something, and there's a certain quality or qualities or that exist in many of those individuals, and so I think we keep getting the same thing over and over again.
well, yeah, you have the aspirational middle class, the peasants, if you will, and you have like the high elites, and they select for certain personality types, like who's going to play ball. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that's what that Epstein stuff was all about. Like, we got the blackmail tapes on you, and we own you. You know, like, we got those tapes, buddy. You with, you know, minors and doing all kinds of things. You're now in our control. You know, and I think this goes all the way up to the highest levels in every direction. So yeah, it's you know, but you know, we make use of the internet where we can, how we can. Like we were saying earlier, we do have a lot of computing power at our disposal, considering, like I said, you know, in the 70s there, they had the moon landing. I mean, they had less technology than what we have, you know, for example, like you know, yes, like we have, if you had to put it into numbers exponentially, I don't know how many times over, but we have maybe, you know, a trillion times more than what the NASA had. You know what I mean? And they put supposedly a man on the moon. I tend to believe that. I know there's people out there that doubt it, but so, you know, there's a lot of good things that can still be done on the internet, but it has really turned, you know, rapidly towards a lot of censorship and a lot of fake stuff. Actually, that's the thing. Actually, I guess that's the reality is you don't even need censorship when you can promote so much false information that the truth gets drowned out. You know what I mean? So if a few people out there are actually telling you the truth, but it gets drowned out because these people control these massive quantities of you know, information distribution.
The highways.
You know, and
The truth
Speak.
can be very boring, Lenny. You know, you might as well just make up your own story.
you know,
So sensational.
A lot of people just.
I wish boring was my problem, but in fact, it's straight up dangerous, actually, man. I mean, it's boring until
But
there's people giving you polonium.
It's
You know what
so
I'm saying?
easy. It's so easy just to create your own version of something and
Yeah.
and just put it out there, right? Like, yeah.
No, I thought you were gonna say it's so easy to follow a certain path that is acceptable. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
it's
that
like,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, as long as you're singing the right tune and you know, but even then they keep changing the tune on people. But nonetheless, you know, there's a certain like line that it's like, okay, do not cross. And every once in a while, you know, you see the outcome when big celebrities especially cross that line, and suddenly you see what happens to them and you're like, whoa, this guy's a billionaire and he's getting treated like a chump. You're like, damn. You know, that's what hit me. It's like, however powerless your average person is, I mean, even people with $1 billion are facing this stuff. You know, think of that, man. It's quite extreme. So, but you know what? I think a lot of the stuff that, you know, we're dealing with, other people have dealt with in the past. You know, the more I learn about history, the more I realize a lot of the struggles are the same. Actually, it's interesting. You know? So we
Yeah.
have, at least we have this going for us, right? We have, you know, frankly, there's a lot of, I think, you know, especially in Canada, you know, we have a lot of, like we have a lot of good people. It's a, you know, good overall standard of living, you know, but it is noticeable the lack of whatchamacallit. Like, I mean, I put that statistic, I think it was the Halloween episode, like half a year ago, maybe, or well, I guess it was October, right? Anyway, there's 3 companies in Canada that own everything, basically. You know what I mean? Literally. Like, they own your content creation, they own your distribution, the news media, they own the cell phone infrastructure, the internet infrastructure. It's like Rogers, Bell, CBC, Chorus Entertainment. So I named 4. So there's a few outliers here and there. I think the statistic I had last time was Bell Canada owns 120 radio stations, I believe, something along those lines. So you know,
Cannibalism is big thing.
you could make the case for some antitrust. I don't want to get too far into this field, but I know back in the day in the States, they broke up these big monopolies, so called, right? And you look at, and this is Canada. Look at the States. Google. I mean, how powerful. Like, you realize every bank in Canada, first of all, Google has like a presence, Amazon. So a lot of these cloud infrastructures, you know what I mean, in these traditional, because you know, banking goes back. They're the early adopters of technology, right? So they were, you know, the first ones to use mainframes, and whatchamacallit, credit card companies were the first real industry to make use of call centers, which is the industry am involved in. You know, less so now, but for the last 2 decades, more or less, that's what I do, right? Contact center technology. And credit cards were the first. You didn't go to a branch for your credit card, right? You phoned a phone number on the back of your card. So that was how you interacted with them, way before other institutions started to have the phone as their primary way of interacting with their customers. Because in the old days, you would go to a bank, you would actually go to a branch, open the door, go. You know, it sounds funny. Like, a lot of people don't even go to banks anymore, right? But now you have like the internet and the phone that are the primary way people interact with their bank, for example, right? And I got exposed to a lot of the technology that's used in call center comes from espionage. Call recording. Think about it. When you call a call center, your call is being recorded. Who are the experts in call recording? The Secret Service that's been tapping phones for decades. I'm not even kidding. It's actually for real. Like, the 2 largest companies, Nice Systems and Verint, and they're both located in Israel, by the way, along with a lot of this type of high-tech espionage related technology that has been commercialized. Palantir is another one I think we spoke about before. That's their technology is utilized in many different ways, but including in military applications and including in Gaza with drones targeting people based on their social media scores. So an operator would get a profile on a potential target and say, this guy said bad things about Zionism. This person said some bad things about this. Okay, he's cleared to be killed. And, you know, the AI will go ahead and take care of that for you. So this type of technology is, believe it or not, that's used in call center that I was exposed to. Even, for example, there's a company called MDocs. Okay, I used to work for IBM, and one of our big customers is Bell Canada, and we had a huge division of people that did billing for Bell Canada, right? Your telephone bill. Well, guess who was doing the telephone bill? MDocs. Guess where MDocs is located? Israel. Guess who the customers of MDocs are? Almost every telecommunications company in the Western world. And guess what they were proven to have been doing? Collecting all the phone records, centralized in their own database. So all the phone call, literally every phone call, all the metadata, who made the call, when, how long it lasted, who got it, every single call made in Canada, every single call made in the United States, every single call made in Spain, made in Italy, made in Germany, etc., etc., etc. One company in one country amalgamating all this data. So I just want to throw that out there. I know a lot of this stuff sounds like tinfoil stuff, but this is how I sort of arrived to a lot of the positions I've arrived at in regards to technology. And I guess the Unabomber is going in this direction, guys. But no, I'm just saying when he wrote the manifesto, forget his real name, but the crazy guy that was bombing, mail bombing, right? Theodore, I think, Kaczynski. He arrived to the conclusion that, he became an extreme anti-technology guy based on his extrapolation of how human beings interacted with technology. And he took it to the extreme. And I don't know that his actions really lined up. But at the end of the day, in his own mind and his own philosophy, he wanted to blow up technology to save humanity. And, I obviously don't condone any type of violence. But I have to say, his conclusions, he could be right. You know what I mean? Like I honestly feel like when I really thought about his extrapolations of his thesis, or his what do they call that, manifesto, was industrial society and its future. So if you've never read it, I would recommend you give it a read, just in case you're interested in these kinds of topics, because he lays out a pretty strong case, for how we will become so dependent on technology that we won't be able to make decisions without their assistance, essentially. So sort of painting ourselves into a corner, just to simplify it. But anyway, I don't want to get too dark. I know I'm off on a tangent here, but yeah, we will.
Dark scene. Time to make more dark scenes.
Yes, time to well, we're here in the wastelands, fighting, the darkness.
Yeah.
So we gotta understand the darkness. to
No,
fight the
I'm
darkness.
always in the underground, man. I resonate with the stuff you say.
I have a few little tiny real world personal examples of what sometimes people consider to be tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, and I just finished explaining to you MDocs. That's not a conspiracy. There was a 60 minutes documentary episode or whatever that they did on it. So you start to think and you start to connect the dots, and you realize that a lot of the science fiction has come true. So we might be dealing with the Terminator. You know what I mean? And Arnold might be looking for Sarah Connor, and we got to be ready.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I just luckily we can have the freedom to have these types of discussions and get-togethers. So anyway, I'll just turn it over to you guys. If you like, we can call it a night and end it early. But I do appreciate everyone's participation, and like I say, in 2 weeks, for everyone who's in town, if you're able to, it will be quite a nice event. We have some very talented DJs and MCs, and I myself will be there. And so I'll play a video at the end, actually, a little 44-second promo video.
Is it going to be recorded, Lenny?
Good point. Yes. So our plan is to stream and record all our events. So for people that are not in town, it's not the same experience. Obviously, you don't want to miss it if you're in town, actually feeling the music as we were stating earlier, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's nice to actually feel the music, feel the experience, be around.
Yeah,
But
when
the
I went
streaming,
to the last one, I don't think I went there with a friend. And I don't think my friend sat down for the whole night. He was dancing the whole time.
yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? You guys brought some very good energy, Jeff. I just got to say that. I appreciate that, and the MC appreciated. They kept telling me,
Yeah,
man, like,
he
you
was
know,
mentioning that. Yeah,
they get energy from like DJs and MCs when people are like enjoying themselves. So, you know, we had not a huge crowd last time, but the people that were there were really feeling it, and we all had a good time. Like, I had a great time, and it was very good quality. So we got good feedback. So we're hoping in a couple of weeks we're going to have a better audience, a bigger audience, not better, but bigger, and hopefully, you know, keep the momentum going. But it's nice to stream it though, as back to Claude, you know, and we to have an archive of it. You know what I mean? So, you know, even for actually, to be honest with you, a lot of the times it's the performers themselves that we want to go back and see and hear what we did, because you're not really totally able to do that when you're in the middle of it. And last time we didn't record the vocals, which was painful because, yeah, as you can attest, I mean, the MCs we had were just incredible. And the mixer had some setting like deep down in a sub menu that was set to say, don't send the mic signal to the record out or the map. And I'm like, oh my God. So everything we were streaming is coming out of the record out. So we just had the music without the vocals. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
I know. So that will not happen the next time. I'll make sure to check that, and you know, we have better understanding of the mixer these days. That was a rental, so sometimes when you rent equipment, you're rolling the dice. So we're investing in a lot of equipment that we can own and reuse ourselves. So we have our own mixer now, and we'll get there. You know, so basically, yeah. So besides that, I'll just say goodbye one more time, and thank you all once again for participating.
Well,
Great,
thank you, Lenny.
great stuff to be here, man.
Yeah,
Thank
I always appreciate your support, Lenny, and hosting this, and everybody's support. It's just really great to get together. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Lenny. Thanks again
Yeah.
for everything you do.
Yeah, no, you're welcome, and thank you all, and happy to do it. So take care, guys, and
Okay.
hope to see you
See you
soon.
later, man.
Take care. All right.
Okay,
Bye.
ciao.
And I'm gonna play this video.
All massive and crew, if you love that one, me wine.